Hello and welcome back to the Boss House. I'm Bo and this is my journey to avoid dying on the Walmart floor. This is a different video than what I normally do. Normally I do my budget setup, my budget closeout, check in on my transactions, yada yada yada. Today I want to go over why I don't follow Dave Ramsey. I know a lot of the budget community does. A lot of people, especially if they're trying to get out of debt, they swear by him. However, I have some issues with almost every one of the baby steps. And I just want to go through that today. And also I want to go through the format that I'm actually using for my current journey. So let's get started. Dave Ramsey baby steps. Okay, so let's just start with step one. Just go through them one by one, right? Step one, $1,000 in an emergency fund. This is supposed to be, a starter emergency fund to get you like kick-started on your journey so that you make progress almost immediately and you get those small wins, right? That's great and all, but I only make my base pay without overtime is $1,050 every 2 weeks. So this is 2 weeks of an emergency fund. That's not enough. That's not enough for any of my emergencies. Every time I've had an emergency, it's been over $1,000, including the emergency that I had this month. Every single one has been over $1,000, and I don't make enough to trust myself to be able to cash flow this without already having the overtime pay sitting there. So I'm not doing that. My starter emergency fund is actually a month's pay or a month's expenses, however you want to look at it. I try to have my starter emergency fund around $2,000 and a little bit of change. So that's how that goes. Because if I have a real emergency, I don't want to raise my debt again. That's not what I want to do. I don't want to have to go into debt if I have another emergency. Like I really don't want to put those on credit cards. So, and let's not forget, one of Dave's biggest things is cut up your credit cards. Cut up your credit cards, never use them again. If I do that, not only would this $1,000 emergency fund not be enough, but then I'd have to open new credit cards with worse credit. And that's not a thing. Also, if I want to move, I want to get a new apartment. Almost every apartment checks your credit. So if my credit goes down because I cut up all my credit cards and I'm not using them and they get closed, like, how am I going to find a place with a decent amount of rent? I don't make a lot of money. I don't make a lot of money. I can't do that, y'all. I can't. Nope. So that's why I don't do the $1,000 starter emergency fund. I have dipped down to $1,000, but I don't want to go lower than 1,000. That's not a thing. That's not a thing that I'm doing. Then step two. Okay, so step two, pay off all debt with the debt snowball. I got a few problems with that. First of all, the debt snowball that's when you're paying off your debt's smallest balance to largest balance. That completely ignores what interest rate those debts are. So if you're doing smallest balance to largest balance, ignoring interest rates, the interest is going to accrue on those higher balance ones. And potentially, if the higher balance is also higher interest, that will lead to you paying more money in the end, which I don't want to do because I'll make a lot of money and I want my money to live. I want my money to do the things that I needed to do. So financially speaking, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm not paying off my 4% credit card. My 4% credit card. I'm not paying that off first when I have a credit card that has 15%. That's not a thing. That's not a thing that's happening. And when I don't have like a stockpile of money, I still still don't want to pay off the 4% interest too fast, because I get that same amount of interest in my savings account. I'd rather have the savings. It evens out. I just want to have the savings first. That makes me feel way more comfortable. I feel more secure with more savings than with less debt, if that makes sense. I still want to pay my debt off. I'm going to pay my debt off when my house closes, the house that I'm selling out of state, that I used to live in, I moved from. I am going to pay off my debt when that happens, when my house sells. But I'm not throwing every last cent aside from the $1,000 towards my debts when I need cash flow. Like, I need to pay the mortgage on the house until the house sells. I need to be able to handle emergencies without going into further debt. So I need to have my credit cards not cut up, and I need to have cash reserves. That cash is king. I do agree with him on that. Cash is king. Cash reserves will get you a lot further than relying on your $1,000 with no credit cards to be able to be used. Nope. So that's why that's not happening. And then step 3 to 6 months expenses and savings. And this is the fully funded emergency fund. So for me, I don't know if you remember, but I remember the panini. I remember the vid. I remember the period where a lot of people were without work for extended periods of time. In fact, those people were out of work for longer than 6 months for a lot of them. Like, a lot of businesses were shut down for longer than that, and people were out of work. So to me, that's not enough. This, to me, should be 6 months pay in savings minimum. Because if I'm in a really tight situation where I'm not working for an extended period of time, and say I only have 3 months of my regular expenses, what if I have a big medical bill? Then what am I going to do? Have a big medical bill and I'm not working for 3 months? Oh, I'm probably going to have to get a predatory loan because, or have stuff sent to collections because my credit cards are cut up and I don't have enough in savings. So for me, it's 6 months income in savings minimum. Ideally, I'd have 12 months, but that's probably not going to happen. Let's be a little real here. So for me, it's a fully funded emergency fund is 6 months income in savings. And then step 4, invest 15% of your income into Roth IRAs and pre-tax retirement funds. This is not enough to me. I'm currently 38 years old. If I start investing 15% into retirement funds, the IRA is individual retirement account, right? So if I put 15% in these, I won't have enough to retire when I'm 65 because I won't have enough time for those investments to make enough money for me to retire on. Dying on the Walmart floor, y'all. I'd be dying on the Walmart floor. I plan to live at least until I'm like 85. Like, most of my family lives until their 80s, some into their 90s. That's not enough. That's not enough when you're behind already and you're 38 years old. It's just not. So that's not why we're not doing 15%. Because to me, that's not enough. And then step 5, college funding. This is funding your children's college. Children of which I have none. I will never have any children of my own. I will have stepkids because I am going to marry my partner. But his kids are 8-year-old twins currently and a 6-year-old. So in 12 years, that 6-year-old will be 18. So in 12 years, they expect me to fund with my partner, who will be my husband at the time. They expect us to fund all 3 of the kids' college Absolutely not. I don't, whose money's going to be doing that? My money's not going to be doing that in 12 years. And this is less of a priority than being able to retire. Because if I can't retire, if I'm working until I drop on the Walmart floor, then am I going to be counting on my stepkids to take care of me when I'm old? Absolutely not. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. We're not doing that. The biggest gift I can give these kids is to have them not worry about their housing, to have stable housing, and for them to be able to mess up when they're young and have us as backup plan. We will help them as much as we possibly can, but college funding in 12 years, having college funds for all three of these kids, absolutely not. Not happening. Absolutely not. Y'all wildin' if you think I'm gonna make enough money for that. And then step 6, pay off your home early. First of all, my house is being sold currently. And with the amount of money that I currently make, I'm not going to be able to buy a house for at least 7 years. At least 7. It might end up being 10. I'm not 100% sure. It depends on how much the housing market goes up, because, housing markets do go up. Income is not going up as fast. At least it seems like it to me. My income hasn't gone up as fast. So when I buy a home, it's probably going to be like maybe 10 years. The kids might be like, the twins might be 18 by then, when we buy a house. 15 years from there is 63. So if I get a 15-year fixed mortgage, my house would be paid off by the time I'm 63, just in time for retirement. And that's really what matters, is that my house is paid off in retirement. So I'm not going to kick myself like the entire time and like work my butt off just so that I can get my house paid off a little faster, when like my current house, the interest rate on that is 2.65%. S&P 500 averages 10% over the course of a lifetime. So why would I be like fighting tooth and nail to pay off 2.65%, assuming I get a reasonable interest rate when I buy my next house? Why would I fight to pay that off early when I could be investing for my retirement to make sure I can retire and like not have to work when I'm 65? Like, retirement savings build faster than this house payoff would happen. So like, why not just invest instead? It makes way more sense financially. I know some people like they feel better with the paid off house, but my house will still be paid off by the time I retire. So I really just care more about the math. To me personally, that's what I care about. And then step 7, which is the only step that I agree with wholeheartedly: build wealth and give. I do believe in leaving this world a better place than when you arrived. I do believe in giving. I do believe in not dying with, ridiculous piles of money. I do want at least one pile, though. I want at least one pile. Please give me that. I want at least one little pile of money, because running out of money before I die is also terrifying. So that's my take on it. This is why I do not follow the Dave Ramsey baby steps. To me, this would work if someone was starting when they were in their 20s and had a relatively high paying job. I currently make $18.75 an hour, which is above minimum wage. It is above minimum wage. However, cost of living in Chicago, where I live, is high enough so that if I want to get a studio apartment, the average rent for that is still like $1,000 a month. If I was okay with living in a neighborhood where my building might have a few bullet holes in it, then I could probably get a studio apartment for like $600, which is still like a significant portion of my income. Like that's a big chunk of my money. And I want to, at some point, like have a vehicle again, like have a life, be able to go out with my friends, be able to enjoy myself before I'm 65. I can't, y'all. This is not built for people with low incomes who also want to retire before they're 65 and are starting in their late 30s. This ain't it. Maybe if I made twice as much as I make now, this would be fine. And then I'd be able to retire with, I'd end up retiring with less money than I live on right now. Which would be okay because I'd have a paid off house and I just have to pay property taxes and whatnot and my normal expenses. But I don't make that. I make $18.75 an hour right now. $18.75 an hour is not giving this and being able to retire with any kind of decent amount of money. So no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. What we're doing is the Money Guys financial order of operations. Now, these guys, well, really, it's the Money Guy. There's Brian Preston. This is the Money Guy. This is Bo Hansen. Yeah, Bo Hansen, which is one of his co-hosts. They're accountants. They're certified accountants. But Dave Ramsey is a financial guru. Which, I mean, his program, it works for some people. But it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me and how my paycheck is set up and how my bank account is set up. It doesn't work for me and how my like constant emergencies also are set up. So I'm going with the math. And the math people are these certified public accountants who have financial order of operations. So, let's just go over this real quick, and why I decided to go with this. When I first checked out the Money Guys, most of the Money Guy, oh my goodness, I keep adding an S, sorry y'all. When I first checked out their YouTube channel, it seemed to me like a lot of what they were talking about was aimed at people who, again, made a lot more money than me. I felt a little alienated at first, but then I realized that it really doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. And this is doable, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so they have nine steps in their financial order of operations. The first one is having your deductibles covered. So step 1, deductibles covered. Pretty straightforward, right? What do you have deductibles for? You have car insurance, you have homeowners insurance, you have renter's insurance. I think that also has a deductible. I don't know. I've never had to like do something with that. I forgot. There probably is. But anyway, you have all these deductibles, right? Those need to be covered in case of emergency. So if I total my car, well, I did total my car, then, if I had an accident and didn't total it, I need to be able to pay the deductible, right? So that $1,000 is not going to cover the deductible on more than one thing. So that's why I like this better, because this to me is safer in case of emergency. And that's the whole point of like a starter emergency fund, is if you have an emergency, you can cover it. You can pay your deductible like that. This is important, y'all. You need to have enough for your deductibles. So that's why I decided to go with a 1 month starter emergency fund instead of the $1,000. because for me, $1,000 is not going to cover my deductibles, plural, if I have more than one. Especially if I have like a big medical bill or something like that. Important, y'all. $1,000 ain't enough for me. And then employer match. You notice on the baby steps, right? The baby steps, you don't get your 401k or 403b employer match until step 4, until after you have your 6 months of expenses and savings, 3 to 6 months of expenses and savings, and all your debts paid off. Employer match. That's 100%. Like most employers in your retirement fund will match your contributions, meaning you contribute a percentage of your income, they will match that contribution. They will contribute the same amount. A lot of them, there's limits. Some of them it's like 100% up to like maybe 2% of your income, and then 50% of whatever else past that, and then they have a cutoff point, whatever the case may be. What the employer contributes, that's free money. Why are you turning down free money until you're completely out of debt and you have an emergency fund? This is free money for your retirement, for your future. I'm not turning that down. I'm not turning that down at all. So I know I haven't talked about, I haven't included my 401k or any of my investment accounts. I haven't included those in my net worth as of yet, because I'm not ready to add to it. So I'm just pretending that it's not there. Basically is what's happening. I'm not going to touch it anyway until I retire. So until I start contributing to it, I'm not going to really include any of those numbers in any of my videos, including my net worth. To me, that does not exist. That does not exist until I'm adding to it. So, but I do get my employer match. Now, with my employer, the employer match is not vested, as in if I leave this job, I can't take that money with me until I work for this employer for 3 years. So if you're not going to be working for your employer for 3 years, if you already know that you're not going to stay there, then it might not be worth it to do the employer match, to do the 401k. It might not be worth it, because you wouldn't be getting that free money, because you can't take it with you when you leave your job. You'd only take what you contributed. And of course, whatever dividends or whatever is left over from that. So if you're not going to stay until that gets vested, or until the point where you can take that money with you when you leave, it may not be worth it. To me, it's worth it, even if I leave this job, because I don't know the future. I don't know if I'm going to leave this job or not. But in any case, it's invested. And because it comes out of my check before taxes due, my 403b, because I work for a nonprofit currently, because my contributions are before taxes come out, it's my paycheck is higher than it would be if I was investing myself. So I'm okay with this. I'm perfectly okay with this. I'm going to do this. I am doing this, actually. And then step 3 is high interest debt. Now, the Money Guys, the Money Guy, he's big on math. The Money Guy show, pushes math a lot. So they're always talking about where your money would be doing the most work for you. So depending on how old you are, interest hurts you more, because you're close to retirement, so your money needs to be working harder for you the closer you get to retirement, because you don't have a lot of time, right? So this is why, even though I was paying more than my minimum payment on my 4% interest credit card, I was not pushing to pay that off immediately, because it's 4% interest. It's 4% interest. This matters less to me. 4% interest matters less to me than stability. So once I started putting money on the higher interest credit card, getting getting prepared to sell my house, that stuff, that's high interest debt. Because that credit card is 15% interest. So that is why now I'm down to my minimum payment on the 4% interest credit card. And most of my focus is on paying this down. Paying the 15% interest card down. So this is where I am. And then step 4 is your emergency reserves. So step 4 is getting the full 3 to 6 months emergency fund. For me, I'm going for 6 months of income, as I said before, but this is where the stability comes. So if you want to talk about like where I am now and how my money's going now, I didn't have this. So what I was doing was before I started prepping for the house to sell, I didn't have high interest debt. My highest interest debt was 4%, which was that one credit card. So for me, I was skipping this at the time and starting putting more money in my emergency fund, which also included my house fund, because to me, that's an emergency when I don't have income going into there. I just have my personal budget. So that's where my focus was. And then when I started putting money on that credit card, then we started shifting back here, right? So that's how that fits into where I am now. And then once you have your emergency fund, which is step 4, then you move to step 5, which is Roth IRA and HSA. So Roth IRA is after-tax retirement contributions, and then HSA is your health savings account. So I currently don't have a health savings account because there are only certain health insurance plans that have that. Have that as an option. I don't have health insurance right now because I am the poor. No, really, it's because I have coverage through the VA. So it's not health insurance, but it is health coverage, and it does count. I do get medical care, but I don't have to pay anything for it, mostly because I was deployed to a combat zone. So because I'm a combat veteran, I get extended VA healthcare benefits. So there's no HSA option. So once I have my emergency reserves, then I start contributing to my Roth IRA. So there's that. And then what they talk about, what the money guy talks about is the goal for investing is 20% of your pre-tax income. So that, if I did 20% of my pre-tax income, that would put me, by the time I'm 65, at a point where I can actually retire with a decent amount of income for the rest of my life. That 15% that's not enough. 20% of pre-tax, that is plenty. That is me retiring real nice, being able to travel, enjoy my life once I'm retired, be able to pay for whatever medical bills I have, not dying on the Walmart floor. So that is 5 and 6 here. So 6 is max out retirement. Now, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do this. Well, it depends. I might eventually get a really good job that pays really well. But the maximum that you can contribute to retirement funds is like, I think the cumulative amount is something like $22,000 a year, something like that. The idea that I can invest that much for retirement and like still be able to live my life and buy a house and all that stuff, like that is kind of a pipe dream for me, unless I find a significantly better paying job. So to me, these 6, 7, 8, 9, these are not really in the picture until I make significantly more money. But 1 through 5, steps 1 through 5 will get me to the point where I can retire comfortably. And that's magical to me. That's freaking fantastic. Like I'm happy. I'm happy with that. If I can make significantly more money, say I get a job making like $80,000 a year, then we can start talking about this stuff. So step 6 is maxing out retirement. So that's like $20-something thousand invested for retirement, which is just, that's a lot for me. That's a lot. Like I can't imagine putting that much in a retirement fund and not being able to touch it and being okay with that. But maybe one day I'll make enough for that. 7 is hyperaccumulation, which is investing even more of a percentage than this. Like you're investing more than what you can even put in retirement. That pipe dream to me. Pipe dream at this point. You're wilding out. And then 8 is prepaid future expenses, which is like paying for your kids' college. That's a pipe dream. Like that's nope. That's not happening with my income. And I really love that they put this as step 8. It's past all this, because this is when you're more than okay financially. That's when you can afford to pay for your kids to go to school. I know people who are paying a lot of money for their kids to go to school, and they don't have emergency funds. They don't have retirement funds. They don't have any of that, because all their money is going to their kid. What are they going to do when they can't work anymore? They're going to rely on Social Security. They're going to rely on like government assistance, or are they going to start investing once their kids are grown, and then maybe they'll have like a little something to supplement Social Security with? I find that terrifying. Which is why I would not consider doing this unless I was making enough so that I could do this. And that is why I love the Money Guy show, and I love the way they look at things, because it's like when you're on an airplane, you put on your, if the airplane is, going down, whatever, the air masks come down, you put your mask on before you put on your neighbor's. You don't just like die as you're putting on someone else's mask. No. You put yours on, and then you help the people around you. So that's the way I look at that. And then number 9 is low interest debt. That's the last step. After you are absolutely golden, because your investments are increasing higher than low interest debt increases. So why would it make sense mathematically to pay off this low interest debt, and then you're further behind on your retirement? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're not doing that. That's why I like these guys, because for me, this is more financial stability. This makes me less likely to end up back in like mountains of debt. This, to me, seems like I'll be okay. I'll be able to retire. I'll be able to have a life that I, dream about. Any case, this has been, God, how long is this video? 34 minutes. Okay. Wow. We're getting real rowdy. Okay. So, that's it for this. This, as I said before, this is why I do not follow Dave Ramsey, but instead I follow what the Money Guy show says, because this is math. This is feelings if you make enough where this is reasonable. Again, if I made $70,000 a year, I could maybe afford to do this. I do not. So I need to focus on being able to cover things that actually happen in my life. So for me, emergencies never had an emergency under $1,000. Not since I've been like 25, maybe. Like, and every time I have a big emergency, like I try to cash flow as much as I can, and then whatever I can't cash flow, then I put it on debt. I don't want to be in a position where I can't do that. Where if I have like a big emergency, like I don't want to have to end up with a predatory loan or end up in an apartment that I can't afford, that I can't really afford, because they're the only people who will take me without a credit check. Like I can't do it, y'all. I can't do it. So that's where I stand. Let me know what you think in the comments. I know it might be a little wild in there. The comments might be a little wild, because people tend to be very, I don't want to say defensive about Dave Ramsey, but there are lots of people, especially in the budgeting community, who swear by him. I do not. I'm here for the math, y'all. I'm here for the math. So let me know what you think. We can argue a little bit. That'd be fun. Not argue, debate. We can have a nice, friendly debate in the comments if you'd like. I'm here. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for staying as long as you did. I know this is very different from what I normally do, but I appreciate you. I love you. You deserve financial stability, and I hope you have a great day on purpose. Bye.